Well, let me ask a question, because let's say that you owned a restaurant and it became quite popular. And someone wanted you to open the doors of that restaurant without any consideration of what you needed to keep the doors open. You know, what were you going to pay your cooks and the workers and other people so they could sustain their families and things like that. You're just going to open the doors to anybody. And you're also going to let anybody come in who wants to and make the food and serve the tables and so forth and so on. And after a bit, you discover that for all that, you have some folks who are going into other places that have had this practice, and sad to say, they end up as people who didn't have such a great intention. Maybe some of them were motivated by a resentment of white privilege, I don't know, or other kinds of privilege that they saw in their world or their society, and they decided that the best use of an opportunity to cook food for other people was to poison them. Do you think that you would actually be doing God's will for justice by throwing the doors open, letting y'all come, and as people were dying at your tables and being killed on account of coming to your restaurant, you just applauded yourself for how open you were being to everybody in the world? Part of that whole discussion takes place as if one of the requisites of our relationship with God isn't a respect for God's understanding of what is right and just to do. And if God tells you, thou shalt not go about murdering people, and you actually handle your situation, whether you own a restaurant or are in charge of a nation's borders, in such a way that you're encouraging people with your y'all come to come over and start murdering folks, and to do so because of their particular motivation, could be faith, could be resentment, could be revenge, I don't care what it is that doing God's will? Because that strikes me as a kind of strange understanding of what God requires of us. I think we're supposed to take account of whether or not what we are doing produces a result that is in conformity with the heart of God. Not just with the judgment of some people that we'd like to get on the good side of. Not just in conformity with general feelings that don't care for discussions of what's actually going on. That's never been, as I recall, the premise of the Christian understanding of charity, for instance. Because you even have to take account of in the good you try to do for others. If part of the good you're trying to do, you want to make people feel good about themselves and so forth. How many Christians in the ancient world helped people in that sense to feel really good about themselves by applauding their worship of pagan gods? As I recall, Polycarp was burning in the flames because he refused to partake in that false worship and give tribute to Caesar rather than to Jesus Christ and God. Taking that stand might be considered these days politically incorrect and uncharitable. But if your true understanding of life and your true understanding of good is predicated on conformity with the will and love and heart of God and Jesus Christ, don't you have to live that way? So you can't just say that throwing open your borders, y'all come, and the consequences, we don't have to worry about them. Hey, that's not Christian charity. That is, in fact, substituting your willingness to serve the world's understanding of right, disregarding consequences that violate the law and will of God, at the expense of the relationship with God, which has you saying to yourself, not my will, not my preference, not my predilections, but God's will be done.